Patriots are not in control. Those who are pass laws to destroy their enemies. You force a popular presidential candidate in the allegedly most powerful nation on earth to travel to their nation to pass hate speech laws restricting your First Amendment. Imprison innocent people for years, en masse, while torturing them, and get caught setting them up. And it's swept under the rug despite everyone knowing. Send dozens of FBI at families and point guns at children, set up wars, destroy economies, poison 1/3 of the world with vaccines, run all of the porn, are behind the Hollyweird grooming, and are forcing parents to allow their children to be groomed for sex activism and use in public schools. They burn down states' forests, leading to record loss of life, and it's called wildfires, despite many arrests. They start race wars, leading to billions of dollars of damage in hundreds of cities. They create terrorist paramilitaries of their young, not yet employed by governments. And when they commit crimes, they get released. When they get challenged by truth speakers, we're told it's an idea, not an organization. They control the world's borders and are behind multicultural immigration. They beat old women, rape children, imprison just men for speaking out against it, and control every single voice without exception that we listen to that isn't being called a Nazi for using the J word. They dress as demons and groom children, strip naked, or perform lewd sexual acts on TV and in our streets with, quote, pride. Transgenderism came from their unholy anti-Bible from Babylon, the Talmud. They promote materialism and flesh everywhere we look, violence and drug abuse in our children's music. They normalize the continually slippery slope of degradation. They harvest living babies whom they cut to pieces for money, without painkillers, some stolen from mothers told they had died during childbirth. They blackmail your leaders with child sex videos. They get a free pass on stealing nukes, spying on us, having stolen nukes, and not participating in the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. And when they threaten to use them, the world powers ignore it or approve it. They are disproportionately represented in every element of power, wealth, and corruption, universally, without exception, over the entire course of human history. They destroyed Rome, Hellenic Greece, burnt Chicago, burnt London twice, and have instigated virtually every war in the modern era, including all 3 world wars, which has already wiped out over 50% of Caucasian Israel, whose identity they stole. They are behind the secret societies, infiltrated the pagan church of Rome via Loyolus, the first Jesuit. They were then behind the Dark Ages and the Inquisition, killing Christians for daring to read God's Word. They are why Catholics pray forbidden repetitive prayers to forbidden dead bones and call man Father, despite it being forbidden also by God. They have been evicted from nearly 200 nations, including multiples for the ritualistic murder of Christian children and babies, and people after being found guilty in courts of law, like Saint Simon of Trent, a young boy poked full of holes and tortured to death and drained of blood over the course of many hours. They are the reason most Christians today think the rapture will save them from the tribulation that has already begun, according to the signs they were commanded to watch for and be sober and vigilant for. They are the reason Christians stopped following God's law, whom Yeshua, Jesus Christ, said would never end. They were behind Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, George Floyd, the ADL, founded to defend their child rape, and the fake news. They are the reason the world believes in globe scientism rather than scientific method. They created vaccines to poison Christians. They created global warming to enslave and depopulate the world. They poisoned 1/3 of Christians during the Black Plague, which was not a plague. The Spanish flu, them. The Irish potato famine, them. The Holodomor, them. The firebombing of women and children by the millions at Dresden, them. 9/11, them. The Chinese Communist Party, the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, and the French Revolutions, the wars in the Middle East, etc., them. The word cannibal, from the Canaanite priests of Baal sacrificing and eating babies to Satan's Antichrist king, Nimrod, whose body we invaded Iraq and killed 1 million people for, supposedly hunting weapons of mass destruction. Now DARPA wants to resurrect ancient creatures and is funding resurrection genetics technologies. They slew the prophets, even Jesus. Quote, his blood be on us and on our children, end quote. But not in one of these instances has justice been served. The one man who tried to stand up to them politely, peacefully, and in defense of Christ and Christian values, you're literally afraid to talk about, or you'll be branded a Nazi. Most of our people cheer their puppets, like Trump and Tucker, yet they will never tell you any of this, and were created so you do not find out. Not in one of these instances have the good guys yet won the day. That is power. That, as Jesus put it, is Satan being the god of this world. Patriots are not in control, but they will be soon. The wrath of the awakened Saxon comes. All of this was written down on both sides long ago. God's prophecies are being fulfilled. For those who are watching the very specific signs come to pass, they had their self-fulfilling prophecies as well. Prescient documents laying out the plan to poison us by becoming doctors, enslave us by becoming politicians, judges, and lawyers, and to lead us away from God by becoming clergymen and priests. The stories of giants such as Goliath, their ancestors, Nephilim hybrids from Genesis 6. Welcome to the seed war of Genesis 3:15. Demons are real and are disproportionately represented in all organized evil on earth, despite being less than 2% of the world population. And now they are coming for your guns, your children, your food supply, your freedoms, forcing us into wars, conscripting military soldiers back into service who have finished their contracts, poisoning your land and air, depleting the Western Christian militaries, and attempting to kill all whites and unite the world in a false one-world religion called Chrislam. And they want you to believe that fallen angels, posing as aliens, are your creators, big brothers, and friends. The very same fallen angels of Genesis 6 that created these monsters by raping our grandmothers, the daughters of Eve. The great deception is heavy upon us, scientism itself. It is time, my brothers and sisters, to wake up. It is time to remember who you are. It is time to remember whose you are. God commanded us to hate evil. It's time. Find all the evidence at our Hidden History archive. Everything that's been stolen from you. Find out where you came from, who you are, and what your purpose is, and all of the conspiracies and how they connect at theserapium.com/map.